is Dominique Wilkins.
Hey, this is Sean Kemp.
This is Gary Payton.
Hey, this is Pau Gasol.
NBA fans, what's up? This is Vince Carter here.
Hey, what's up? This is Matt Barnes. If you're an old school NBA fan like I am, make sure you check out the Basketball Time Machine with my man Sean David.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Basketball Time Machine. I'm your host Sean David. Thanks for tuning in. Let's talk some old school NBA basketball. In today's episode, I'm taking a look at NBA legends giving their opinion on how good Kevin McHale was, so the legend of the Boston Celtics. But before we dive into that, I want to remind you guys of the Sean Kemp, the signed Sean Kemp jersey competition. I'm giving away this beauty right here, signed by the Rain Man, and all you have to do is @, me on Instagram, which is www.instagram.com/SeanDavidNBA. And you don't have to send me a message. All you have to do is just @, me, and in 4 days, so the following Sunday, I will have a random number machine, which is basically picking a number, and that person is going to win the jersey. So your odds at the moment are pretty high because it's only 1,100 people so far competing, so your chances are not bad at all. So enough of that, now let's dive into today's episode. Now, the first player that we're going to take a look at is Sir Charles Barkley. And Barkley has a lot of respect for Kevin McHale, which you're going to see in the following clips.
Good job. Some of these guys back in the day, like Greg Kite, McKeskey, they like try to beat you down the whole game, try to make you lose your temper. Lamb Beer just tried to knock the hell out of you. My personal nemesis is Kevin McHale because he's the best player I ever played against. You could not stop him. I've always said that you could not stop that guy. And on the other end, I had to use every ounce of energy I did to score on him. That guy, when I looked at, because we all look at the schedule, we're like, okay, I can have some fun that night. Better get a good night's sleep that night. I mean, we all say the same thing about different guys, but Kevin McHale is the best player I played against, because he was unstoppable offensively, and he gave me nightmares on defense.
Big guys, especially his footwork. Some of the greatest feet ever in NBA history, when you're talking about signature moves, Kevin McHale and the Dream Shake, Hakeem Olajuwon.
I think they're the two best. They're two, and I played many years against both of those guys. And Kevin McHale, it got to the point where they were calling him a man of 1,000 moves. Could not guard him one-on-one on the box because he had such great footwork, and he did a great job of feeling the contact. And once he felt you were done. If the double team didn't come right away, forget about it. He had too much stuff on the box.
Now, when we talk about Kevin McHale and the Boston Celtics, now obviously we also need Larry Bird's opinion. So let's have a look what Larry Bird has to say.
Because he wasn't very vocal, he led by example every night. Practices also.
Bird in the break. Seasting is with him. Larry to McHale for two. What a pass out of Bird.
Talk about Olajuwon and all the other great ones. They're great, but Kevin was as good as anybody I've ever seen. He probably gave up more than anybody. He didn't demand it. He liked his shots.
Near side. Cummings in the air. Oh, that was a heck of a play.
And I think everybody, when you play in a really good team, everybody sacrifices for each other but it's not a sacrifice. It's just that if Robert had it going, which he did many nights, he just got the ball. If Robert and Larry had it going, I just knew I wasn't going to get as many shots. No big deal. You know, the next night might be my night. We got ours, and you know, our goal was that one more point than the other team.
By Walton, back to Bird. Again, Parish beats his man, got the layup and a foul. Here's McHale's turnaround, buries it over Livingston. And go to you, bread and butter.
In the end, us being a great team meant more than any individual thing or anything like that. It was just kind of one of those teams that, had we all just been on different teams, guys tell people we would have scored more and we'd have won less. So I'd much rather take winning than
ESPN.com published their list of all-time starting fives for every team in the Eastern Conference. And who better than this crew to break down the Celtics lineup? So guys, they have Russell, Bird, Pierce, Havlicek, and Kuzi. Jackie, is this what your list looks like?
It is and it isn't. I have a hard time leaving Kevin McHale off, Rach. He was Bird's Pippen, if you will. He never cared about numbers, didn't care about MVPs, All-Stars, anything, but he was one of the most devastating low-post players I've ever seen.
My fourth man would have to be obviously Kevin McHale, you know, the master of the inside, outside, you know, however way you want a game. So
we see all the stretch fours and we talk about it all the time, but here are two guys that were sitting down there. You know, obviously Diesel is one of them as well, but we're talking about guys who the skill was magnificent over the power. So what do you two guys think that's going to happen in the next 5 years?
Kevin McHale, before he had the 56, did you look at him as a guy who could absolutely dominate a game, or was he a guy that was really good, but really you can't count on him to get you a 50-point ball game?
Well, I don't know about counting on him to get a 50-point game, but you knew he could get 30. And that's one of the things that I thought was really interesting about our team. You know, Cedric Maxwell had been playing a lot. Kevin obviously moved into that starting position. Kevin, with his length, with his footwork, and I mean, supreme confidence in his ability not only to knock down the 14, 15-footers, one dribble to a spot, one dribble to the rim, up and under. He had all of that.
The great Charles Barkley was once asked, who was the toughest player he ever had to guard? His answer, Hall of Famer Kevin McHale. I'm telling you, you kids just don't know how good Kevin McHale was. When we talk about the top power forwards to ever play the game, the same names get mentioned. Duncan, Barkley, Malone, Nowitzki, Garnett, Elvin Hayes. But there's one name that's too often left off the list. The name of a guy who routinely gave some of the greatest to ever lace him up the business. I'm talking about Kevin McHale. Forget the optics. Yes, he was gangly. Yes, he was earthbound. Yes, he came off the bench. But Kevin McHale was one of the best to ever do it. Here's why. Number one, Kevin McHale was a sensational post-up player. 6'10" and blessed with arms so long that people often joked he could tie his shoes without bending over. He had every post move in the book. The jump hook, the up and under, the reverse lay-in, the fadeaway. McHale was simply unstoppable on the block. So much so that in the 1986-87 season, he averaged 26 points a game while shooting 60% from the floor and 80% from the line. You know how many NBA players have averaged 20 or more points, shot 60% from the floor and 80% from the stripe in the same season? One! Kevin McHale.
Now, he is coming into his own right here. He is dominating night in. I think he had 43 the next night. So the year before, he came off the bench. Now, do you feel like, oh man, this guy's established as a Hall of Famer? It's like he's a starter. He's a big-time all-star player.
I knew he was going to be a big-time player for us. I didn't think there was any question about that. I'm not sure if I thought Hall of Fame, but I knew at the end of the day, Brian, you know, this is about guys you can count on to do what they do. You knew Kevin can score. Can he score? Can he score consistently? Can he score consistently in big games? And he started to show those kind of signs, and that's really a good thing for anybody. I mean, all of our teammates felt good about him. I have to again say, you know, playing when you've got a guy that you've got your number one player has confidence in, then you know you got a guy that could play. Larry would throw the ball to Robert because he knew how Robert needed the ball, just because all guys need the ball at some point. Kevin, he threw the ball because Kevin usually had a mismatch. With his long arms and the footwork, he had a mismatch somewhere and was able to get off a good shot.
Now, before I end this video, I want to give you guys my opinion about how good do I think was Kevin McHale. Well, I gotta be honest, I was always a huge fan of Kevin. Why? Because of his great post game. I was always a fan of players who could move their feet, who had an arsenal like a Swiss Army knife. That's why I'm a big fan of Hakeem Olajuwon and obviously now of Kevin McHale. I wish I could have seen him on the other team. No, I don't want to see him on the other team because I like players who actually stay with their franchise, but it would have been interesting to see how good was Kevin McHale if he would have been the main guy on a team. Well, we will never know, but still, Kevin McHale, you're my man. All right, you guys, that was it for today's episode. Don't forget to sign up at the Sean Kemp jersey competition at me on Instagram. And if you're new to the channel, also don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. And I guess I'll see you next time on the Basketball Time Machine.